What's up guys, what is up, and welcome back to another video where today we are going over the trailer that released for Battlefield 1. I know I'm about a week late, I tend to be late, but I'm definitely going to try to be a bit more prompt. But anyways, I definitely want to make a video on this because Battlefield is easily one of my most beloved series, and I definitely think I'm going to be making more videos like this, specifically talking about some of the specific stuff like weapons and what those might look like in-game, the weapons that are in the trailer. Potential vehicles, that type of stuff. But for now, I just want to kind of do an overview of everything that's in the trailer, at least that I saw. Most of this, me and then also Taco helped out a little bit. If you guys know Taco, check out his channel down below. And if you are interested in anything Battlefield 1 related, more videos like this, videos talking about the potential weapons that are going to be it that you can deduce from this, anything like that, make sure you either A, stay subscribed, or B, subscribe for the first time, because yeah, this is cool stuff, but you probably don't care about all this yabba dabba. You probably care about some bappa bappa. That's me trying to make a gun noise. Not the best. Anyways, so we're gonna start off, gonna let the video trailer play, and then I'm gonna stop at a couple of key freeze frames and talk about what happens. Also, since I'm pretty sure there's a copyrighted song in the trailer, I'm actually just gonna have my own little background music. If you guys want to see the full trailer in its entirety with the original music, check it out. Link will be down below as well. So right away, the trailer does get into some juicy bits. As here you can see this like apocalyptic looking battleground, because that's kind of what went on in World War I, is that they really went all out with the trench warfare, battles, and destruction. And if you don't pay close attention, or if you do pay close attention, you can tell that the melee weapon that this character is holding on to, first off, he has a gas mask that'll be shown later in the trailer of you actually equipping one. But this is the first hint and kind of melee weapon variety, because he's using some sort of spiked club there. The next thing we begin to see is a gigantic desert, hinting at that this won't just be the European theater that a lot of people think of when it comes to World War I, but that also Battlefield is going to incorporate the Arabian Peninsula and probably battles involving the Ottoman Empire, since they're closest to the Middle East. And this will also probably translate not only to single player, but also to multiplayer, and seeing some maps in this area. And then almost right after that, we get a peek at cavalry. So cavalry and horses will be in the game. In what capacity, I can't exactly be sure. I do think that in one of the pre-order packs, they were mentioning something like a horse skin or a type of horse. So I have to guess that they're also going to be in multiplayer, but you'll probably be seeing them in a single player as well. And as you can see, this guy is holding up a sword, which further kind of points to that variety in melee weapons that they're kind of going with throughout the trailer. And then next up, we get a look at some biplanes overlooking what appears to be the original landscape from the first couple scenes of the trailer. And we can see some biplanes also in the background, what appears to maybe be a triplane, but the main focus here is the biplane, which is going to be mounted by two people. You got the gunner in the back with a machine gun of some sort, what appears to be probably a Lewis M1914, because of that kind of circular mag up top, along with the huge barrel up front. So that's probably going to be mounted as the turret, and then you will have the pilot probably under that kind of wing canopy and flying the thing. So in this freeze frame, we can see the guy on the right swinging a shovel as a melee weapon, further hinting towards that melee weapon variety. And in the midst of this, we do see some biplanes doing strafing runs on the ground. So that just kind of points to the fact that biplanes aren't only going to be capable for like air-to-air warfare, but they will definitely have some use shooting the ground and potentially even being used as bombers. Here we have our first kind of closer look at the German triplane, and the cool thing about this is that Germany was actually the first in World War I to discover a method of shooting through the propellers without actually destroying their own propellers, which allowed for here, as you can see, and you actually probably saw in a couple frames ago, them to shoot straight ahead in pursuit of a enemy biplane. We can also see this taking place in sort of a canyon, kind of deserty looking area, which also hints towards the fact that there will be air warfare also in the Middle East. Also, on the topic of triplanes, there is a chance that the British will have these. While they were predominantly German, the British actually did pursue a couple triplane-like designs for anti-Zeppelin warfare to kind of counter the Zeppelins of the Germans, and as you will see at the end of the trailer, that would kind of make sense in this context, so that is potentially something to look forward to. Here we can actually see a windmill, so it's just kind of hinting towards probably something like a European village, which makes sense since a lot of trench warfare went on in more rural Europe. So we'll probably be seeing some villages kind of being a part of the fortifications, which you can kind of see too with the barbed wire and, again, probably part of a defensive line or something of the sort. Could also be a potential map for multiplayer where it's kind of rural Europe, you got villages, that type of stuff, and maybe not necessarily trench warfare, but there will probably be trenches incorporated. Here we have a guy about to start turning a crank. This is going on inside of a tank. You can tell because a crank was actually a part of a certain tank. I can't recall which one, but it was a part of a tank in World War I. Another tank scene comes right after this, and the rest of everything behind him looks just very much so manufactured together like a metal shell. Here we are returning to, again, that kind of canyony, deserty looking area. We can actually see a sniper class over on the left because of what appears to be kind of the more long distance rifle he has along with a bipod. We also do have the tank, which is potentially the tank that was referenced in the scene before with the crank. And we can see that it is kind of an earlier tank because World War I was where the earliest kind of prototype tanks came about, and it does seem pretty cool. It has turrets on the side. I don't know if it has a turret up top because it doesn't necessarily show, but it will have those turrets on the side and be a armored vehicle. Also, don't worry, I do plan on going back and hopefully trying to deduce exactly what model each and every one is, along with talking about those specific models in the context of history and everything. Just I didn't want this particular video to be 30 minutes long, so yeah, but I'll go back and probably dedicate videos to each kind of vehicle, weapon, and that type of stuff I see. Here we have some sort of assailant. He appears to be in civilian clothing and he's only equipped with a pistol, so we might be kind of going undercover, maybe not undercover, but trying to be low-key and potentially maybe hinting towards something like an assassination mission or something like that. It appears to be French architecture and stuff as well. The first thing that this reminded me of, it looked like freaking Versailles the first time I saw it, but this is definitely appearing to be French architecture. Also, it does hint towards a urban setting since this would be France, and a building this nice isn't really going to be found in a super rural area. It definitely appears to be more urban. So it would make sense that there might be a urban map as well, but if there isn't, there's definitely going to be some sort of single player mission kind of encompassing this, but urban map is a definite possibility. Here we can see a sort of jungly setting. Maybe it's Italian, something like Roman ruins with arches, because I do know that Romans love their arches, and you could see an arch there before it was blown up, and maybe like Sicily, but there's also a chance that it might be like Mesopotamia, since Mesopotamia has this type of climate, and Mesopotamia being in the Middle East, of course. Well, kind of in that Middle Eastern area, kind of more to the east of the Middle East. I'm geographical expert, but Mesopotamia, and that would make sense with the ruins as well, because there were a lot of ancient civilizations there, and it's an area where the Ottomans would be fighting, so it does make sense kind of World War I wise. So it's one of the two. I'd probably put my marbles into the Mesopotamia basket though. There's also this gun with the circle mag. You can see a pretty large barrel up top, and also that sight. From what I was looking at, I'd have to say that that might be a Lewis M1914, which is also what I referenced in the biplanes earlier, but that's probably what I have to say this is. And that does make sense because that was a gun used in World War I, so, and that disc mag on top is a very kind of distinct feature of it. So very good chance that that will be included in the game along with multiplayer. You can also begin to see some sort of chemical gas being popped up ahead, probably mustard gas with that kind of like color it has to, at least that's what it reminds me of. And in a second you'll actually see the character putting on a gas mask, so potentially there will be chemical warfare in multiplayer as well. If not, definitely it'll be a part of single player, so you might be able to like throw grenades, throw chemical grenades into trenches, that type of stuff, and force the enemy to put on their gas masks. That or they die. I don't know, maybe gas masks will be a certain like feature you have to equip in your class, maybe it'll like replace your grenades, but there will probably be some sort of strategic use to it. Otherwise you could always just have your gas mask on, so at least that's my 2 cents. So next up, we got something that has been stirring up definitely some controversy, and that is this guy in just totally armored out. A lot of people have been saying that this is kind of unrealistic, this isn't World War I at all, but you do have to take into account that DICE is going to take some liberties to make the game as fun and hopefully balanced as possible, and there is kind of a little bit of reasoning behind this. So this is probably an American soldier because of the way that you can see he's holding a relatively large gun, probably by the looks of it Browning 1917. It's a light machine gun, and the Browning does have that handle, which would make sense with that hand placement he has there. And the Americans, along with I feel like a lot of World War I powers, did at some point or another experiment with this kind of full body armor. Maybe not this full, but there were experiments with body armor like that, and that includes the US, so there's a good chance this is a US soldier firing a Browning with some experimental armor. And since this is DICE taking some liberties, it could have expanded upon that little kind of pocket of history and turned it into something a bit more blown up like this. Also, you'll see him shooting at Germans, which also does kind of help that narrative that this is an American, since I'm pretty sure Americans were shooting and fighting Germans. Opposite sides, yeah. Also, like I mentioned, there's a good chance that this is the Browning, which means that the Browning will be in the game, hopefully in multiplayer, probably in multiplayer, I'd have to say, because if there's a weapon, it's probably gonna be both in multiplayer and single player. So Browning, probably in the game from the looks of it, if my thought process makes any sense. Which, to be fair, it might not, but at the end of the day, this is kind of part of the Battlefield hype. We're all trying to figure out everything we can from this trailer. We're all kind of making our own hypotheses, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's the fun of it, you know? At least that's what it is in my eyes. So if I am wrong, or if you have your own kind of hypotheses, let me know in the comment section down below if you disagree with anything that I'm saying about any particular scenes, and then let me know what you think it might be, along with if you have any potential evidence, because I did definitely try to do some Googling and match up some of these guns, some of these vehicles, that type of stuff, and make sure I had a little bit of a clue of what I'm talking about. So yeah, okay, back to the analysis. So here, if you look at this scene for a second, you can see kind of that huge mountainy region in the background, potentially something like the Swiss Alps, since this is what appears to be more of a European theater. And the Alps were a part of World War I, if I'm not mistaken, and even if they weren't, DICE could always take some liberties and make some battles there to kind of add some variety. So there's going to be some sort of mountainous region though, and hopefully that does make it into multiplayer and make for some multiplayer battles, along with probably being a part of the single player. Here we get another peek at another tank, potentially German with that color scheme. Here we get ourselves a peek into the trenches, what it looks like. It looks like a bunker at the end, and kind of what they're going to look like. What might be ammo boxes, munitions boxes on the right, and people setting up. Got a little ladder to climb over, and barricades up by the bunker as well. Also, do keep in mind, for the multiplayer is only going to be 32 versus 32, so while it's definitely going to be massive, the trench warfare is going to be nowhere near the scale of an actual World War I, but still, it's going to get pretty insane, and it's going to be really fun. Here we get a peek at flamethrowers and the fact that they're going to be in the game. Also, what might be some sort of oxygen tank, maybe? I don't know if that's an oxygen tank or kind of more of a ghetto rig / a different gas mask. If it is, it's going to show that there's going to be variety in gas masks, and maybe even have that potential for like customization and another way to differentiate yourself in multiplayer. Or this just might be specific to the flamethrower class, and maybe that just so he could get oxygen and not burn himself, because after all, he's shooting a flamethrower. Shooting flames. It throws flames. Pretty self-explanatory. Here we can confirm the trains are in the game. If they'll be in multiplayer, I don't know how they'd incorporate it, but they're definitely in the game in some sort of fashion. What appears to be more of a Middle East setting with the whole desert feel that's going on, but they'll also probably be present in the European theater along with this, and who knows, maybe they will be in multiplayer. But the reason for that is because in World War I, supply lines mainly ran through trains were actually pretty damn important, and maybe some sort of like game mode around it. That's something I'd want to see, but there's nothing at all that hints towards its existence besides the fact that there are trains. So trains probably in both the European and the Middle Eastern theater. Now here's something that is going to be absolutely awesome as well, because freaking warships and battleships. I cannot wait to play around with these, because holy crap, you can see all those. You can see something getting hit with a full broadside, gigantic cannons going off, and just the scale of that warship / battleship is insane, and I cannot wait to play around with it. Hopefully they're drivable and in multiplayer, but oh my god, I'm really excited for that, because they're incorporating all sorts of warfare. They have air, they have sea, and they have land, and if they can incorporate all of this into one multiplayer map, That is going to be insane, and probably my favorite multiplayer map. In this frame, you can see artillery going on, so that will be in the game. Again, hopefully it'll make its way into multiplayer to kind of make trench warfare that much more immersive on this huge scale. So artillery is going to be in some fashion. And also you can tell, I did kind of pause this before you see actual artillery firing, but you'll be able to see that in a sec. I did want to pause it here to show that there is a medic and hinting towards the fact that there will probably be a medic class, but I think everyone and their moms could guess that, since that's kind of the staple of the Battlefield classes. So and finally, what I think everyone and their moms is excited over is the gigantic Zeppelin at the end of the trailer. This is going to be crazy. If this makes its way into multiplayer, I don't even know how it's going to be balanced, because Zeppelins were specifically German, but these are going to be insane. And even if it's still in single player, this is going to be crazy and fun to drive around with. I don't know if I'll actually be able to drive it, but just being on it, that's going to be so epic, and shooting off of it, doing all that stuff is going to be crazy. So probably my favorite thing out of the trailer is this just kind of reveal at the end of the Zeppelin, and I am ridiculously excited for it. However, that is about going to go ahead and do it for this trailer analysis type thing. Like I said, if you want to see more Battlefield 1 content, I definitely think that I'm going to be dropping more, because Battlefield 1 is arguably, probably now my top, if it's not my number 1, it's my number 2 most excited game this year. Sorry, No Man's Sky is pretty dope. And I cannot wait for it to come out. Coming out October 21st, as you can see. I think you can get it 3 days early if you pre-order like the digital deluxe edition or something like that. But this game's gonna be just, I can't wait for it. I'm gonna be dropping more videos on it, talking about some of the stuff very more specific in the trailer, so like maybe a specific frame, entire video dedicated to that. So like the Browning, a video dedicated to the Browning, what it might look like in the game, its fire rate, that type of stuff, and more stuff like that, along with when they drop more trailers and more info, kind of akin to the Dossier Den I've done for some other stuff, which if you guys wandered across this video, the Dossier Den's just a series I started up for ARK to go over some information from that, specifically talking about the dinosaurs that are to be released. So, I mean, you guys seem to like some informative content, so I'm definitely going to be doing some of this up until the launch of the game. Once the launch of the game happens, and or the beta, I am definitely going to be hopping in and making some videos on that, and then potentially following up and keeping up with the news and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, that's about the game plan. So definitely more videos coming. If you want to see them, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when they're coming. And also, if you liked the video at all, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section. Let me know what you are most excited for out of the trailer too. That's definitely something I want to hear. And if you liked it, hit that like button, because this is the first time I've ever really made a Battlefield video, so hopefully I did a good job. It's not really gameplay, which is what I usually do, but still, I'm decent in analysis, I like to think, so hopefully I did a good job. But other than that, it's about to go ahead and do it for me. Insanely excited for Battlefield 1. Hopefully you guys are as well. I think it's going to be a great game, and hopefully it does follow through with DICE and their history of making pretty great Battlefield games. At least in my opinion. That might be controversial or something, but other than that, that's going to go ahead and do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching the video as always, and hopefully I'll see you next one.